Hey there everybody, Matt Carter here.
And Jessica Carter.
This video is our NCIS Season 17 Episode 20 reaction. This is the final episode of the season. We've made it here. We're ending on a high note, but
It sucks that we're not getting more.
It is a bittersweet note. I mean, we have, I think the Arizona, one of the better standalone episodes we've sort of had in a really long time.
For sure.
Lots of powerful stuff. Great performance by Christopher Lloyd. Mark Harmon's great. I think they cram a lot in emotionally. I don't know how much any of this will really matter in the long term, but we have this episode to sort of enjoy and reflect on. It's kind of like, this is the best of what NCIS will do in a standalone episode.
With a really great guest star. There was some really great moments with Mark, with Christopher. It was cool.
Alright, well, we are going to talk about everything throughout this video, but before we dive in further, if you guys do like this discussion, remember to give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any other updates we have coming up. I guess let's just start, though, with what I believe to be the best moment of the episode, and that is the sequence of Christopher Lloyd's Joe Smith sort of actually recounting everything that he went through in Pearl Harbor, because I think this is the sort of thing that has the impact on Gibbs, that makes Gibbs want to believe in him, and it sort of spawns out everything else with Gibbs the rest of the episode.
Yeah, and it was so beautifully written. It was really powerfully acted, and for me especially, I really liked and enjoyed this episode because I'm a Canadian. For anybody who doesn't know, I grew up in Canada. Our history, we don't know a lot about Pearl Harbor. This wasn't taught to us in school. I became a citizen down here just a few years ago, so I haven't been down here that long. So an episode like this was really interesting for me because I got to learn a bunch about what happened, about Pearl Harbor, and sort of learned some of the horrors that happened with it through the eyes of this show. And it gave me, a lot of just information, background, history on a really big event that happened.
And it was kind of cool just learning more about why they chose to do this now as well. I mean, we did an interview with Frank Cardea and GINA Monreal, who wrote this episode, and we'll have a link to that in the description if you guys want to check it out. But what we learned ultimately is that there's not a lot of people who are still survivors of Pearl Harbor, and most of them at this point are sort of at the age or even older than this Joe Smith character is, and there's not a lot of time left to sort of tell these stories. There was a lot of research that was sort of went into how it could have been done, the way in which that people's ashes are interred onto the Arizona. So I think factually they got a lot of stuff right. I'm not a super history buff. I grew up in the US, I learned about Pearl Harbor, but at the same time, I mean, I can't verify the accuracy of everything that's in here, but it felt like it was well researched, and I think more so than anything else, they really hit the emotion of why someone like Joe would want to be sort of laid to rest alongside all of these other people, despite them going through something really terrible together.
Yeah. I mean, they really did do an incredible job of explaining that, because as someone who has never been in anything like that, knock on wood, that I wouldn't understand why he would want to be laid to rest in that situation. And now I do.
Yeah, they played that really well, and there was a lot of just big dramatic scenes, but what I like is that through a lot of this, you still had enough time for comedy. You still had the moments, including Joe Smith with the root beer.
And Joe Smith being like, I watch CSI, I know how this is done. I was just like, okay, I see what's happening. CSI is so good.
It's the CBS crossover that we didn't know we were going to get. But yeah, I like them making a call out to another CBS show, which may end up coming back at some point in the future. I thought all of that was pretty fun. The dynamic between Joe and Torres also provided Joe wanted nothing to do with Torres and Bishop.
No.
We can say that pretty definitively here.
No, and it was cool that it was cool that he was given the respect that he was given, even though they weren't 100% sure of what was going on. That as soon as he was like, nope, I'm not dealing with these two, bring that gray-haired guy back in here, we're going to deal with that instead. That guy will know what's happening. That they allowed that to happen.
I also like that there wasn't a dead body in this episode, so it didn't feel like every other installment. I even like the moment where, you know, we have the weekly, somebody's getting interrupted by Gibbs, and it is McGee who ends up basically planning someone else's celebratory dinner. But Gibbs comes in, and they're like, we got a body? And I think Gibbs says, well, we got something.
Yeah, that was good. There was still some comedy in here. And I mean, if you have Christopher Lloyd, you got to have a little bit of comedy. He is hilarious. So, I mean, it was good. It would have been a completely wasted opportunity. So good on them for not wasting it.
Yeah, no mention of the DeLorean or the clock tower. I'm a little bit disappointed with that. But no, otherwise, no, it was a really well done story that really put a lot of emphasis in actually, you know, honoring these people from generations ago and sort of exploring these relationships and these dynamics. And it really did translate to a great Gibbs and McGee moment at the end of this where...
Yes, it did!
Yeah, McGee gets to have a moment with Gibbs where Gibbs opens up about some of what he's been through.
And it was really cool that it was Gibbs. I mean, they Gibbs and McGee because they have had a relationship for so long now. And I mean, he is like a son to Gibbs. And for all the people, it had to be him. I mean, Bishop and Torres are a little new still. You know, there are other things that we can have with Slibs. It had to be McGee. And it was such a touching moment. And I really loved it, where it was kind of like, McGee's like, oh, I'm here to pick up the grill and then I'm going to go. And it, you know, Gibbs being like, actually, do you have a moment? I was like,
Gibbs.
Oh, no, it was so good. I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it a lot too. And Frank Cardet even explained it just felt so right for this to be McGee, because this is a character who sort of comes in at the start of the series as this newcomer, and Gibbs is sort of a father figure to him in a lot of ways. It really was like, look how far we've sort of come, because there might be, hopefully this day is not anytime soon, mind you, but there might be that day some point where Gibbs sort of hands the baton over to McGee, and McGee becomes sort of the Gibbs of the team.
Yeah. Not until the series finale 20 years from now.
Yeah, we're going to be going into NCIS like season 35. Gibbs somehow will still be like, grab your gear, everyone.
That's right.
Gibbs is immortal.
So we didn't really have a lot of relationship stuff. There wasn't a lot with, you know, the Alex ship. There was a tiny bit with the Slib ship. I mean, yeah, we saw them have that bit of, not a fight in the office with Vance, but we saw Sloane use what she knows in their relationship to be able to push Gibbs to go further in pushing Joe. Because for a while there, it felt like he was just only connecting with Joe and not really about the heart of what was going on. I use the word heart because, get it? Heart,
Purple Heart. Yeah, there you go.
All
there you go.
All right. You've been my influence a little bit too much.
Bring on the buns.
So it was cool to see that their relationship is so comfortable that she knows how to push Gibbs into getting the best out of him. And that was neat. And then we also saw Sloane over at his house, and they're talking around the boat. That was a bit of the real Slibs moment that I saw, where there wasn't anything like a touch or a look or anything like that. It was purely about the comfort level that she has in his house, like she's there a lot.
Well, I'm sure she's there a lot. I don't know if she's
right.
there
she
a lot
there
doing
a
whatever
lot.
you think that's going on, but I think that she's there a lot. We've been in this discussion all season.
You're going to have to leave now.
I think that they are on the road to something. I just don't think they're there yet, because I think they want us to be there in that moment too.
This is NCIS.
They're changing. They're like Gibbs. They're changing a little bit over time. They want us to be there now.
They like to have a lot of stuff off screen. So, you know, Christmas, she's around the house a lot.
Well,
Listen.
They don't want to do what they did with Ziva and Tony, which was just have a lot of stuff happen off screen.
I agree. I would not like that, but they haven't shown me yet that they're going to do anything different, so off screen might be what's happening.
I may be completely deluded in my belief, and I am fully well aware of that. But I hope that stuff happens. I want there to be the Slip Street Party. Why wouldn't I want that?
That's right.
Well, I think that this episode is not heavy on a lot of the big dramatic swings. There's no big ship moment. I don't think there's really anything in here that we would call a dramatic cliffhanger, unless we want to sort of ask, does Gibbs opening up to McGee mean that he's going to be opening up to people more down the road? But I don't really know if we can say that one way or another.
Yeah, I don't think that this episode is going to roll into other stuff and other stories. It feels very much a standalone. And for it being the last episode of the season, we're not calling it the finale, it is just the last episode of the season. This wasn't meant to be the finale. I mean, it doesn't leave us with a cliffhanger or a whole bunch of stuff to worry about all summer long.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is a really, really powerful episode. It still gives us a lot to think about and a lot to feel and a lot to walk away from and reflect with.
And I think I feel a lot of those things coming out of it. If you love NCIS and you sort of love the messages of this show and sort of the core of what it's about, even if there are no show-defying twists or anything like that, I really think this is something that's going to be satisfying for people. Yeah. It gives enough closure. I hope that we have a chance to really dive into these characters more next season, but that'll be a discussion, probably for another date or another video, because we will, of course, have one coming about season 18.
Yeah.
So, for now, though, let's hear from you guys about all this. How many feelings did you feel with NCIS Season 17, Episode 20? Give us your favorite scene, what you're kind of hoping kind of translates over to next season. All that stuff in the comments. And if you do like this video, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and you can support us further by checking the link in the description to the store. And we'll see you here next time.